Hi, good morning. And this is Sián from InventoryBase Academy. And we've got today time. If I could just ask any of the attendees already on the system, just to give me a quick shout out on the questions panel. Just let me know that you can hear me okay, please. Brilliant. Thank you, Fiona. Thank you, Catherine. Good morning. Good morning, Deborah. Hi, Vicky. Great. You can hear me too. That's brilliant. Good morning, Elaine. Right, so we'll just give a few more minutes, just let a few more people finish joining up, and then we'll start. Hi, good morning, Jonathan.
Sián, I can't hear them.
No, they generally won't be in audio. It'll be just for the questions, and we'll be talking.
Yeah.
Good morning, Jen. And can one of you just confirm you can see the screen which says webinar, why become an inventory clerk, please? Lovely. Thank you, Catherine, Jen, Deborah, thank you. Right, okay, so we're still seeing people join, so I'm very conscious that everybody's got things to be doing, etc. So I won't delay any longer. So welcome to Inventory Academy webinar, Why Become an Inventory Clerk. Today the webinar is going to be hosted by myself. I'm Sián Hemming-Metcalfe. I'm head of training for InventoryBase Academy, but I also run my own inventory company as well. I have about 8 clerks, so I've got some really good hands-on experience. I've got quite a few thousand reports underneath my belt, so hopefully I'll be able to answer a lot of the questions. And today I'm really pleased to co-host the webinar with Katie. So Katie, you'd like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, so I'm Katie Finch. Some of you I will have spoken to already, or I'm sure you've had emails from me. I'm the community manager for Vuber. I'm here to support all of the Vubers, and I've been tasked with launching the inventory launch with our clients.
Brilliant, lovely, well, welcome, and thank you for joining me today, Katie. So a bit of housekeeping. We expect the webinar to be around about 45 minutes. We always allow an hour just for additional questions, etc. You've got the chat box where you can ask questions whilst we're going through the webinar, so please do so. If we don't get to those questions, don't worry, they're all captured on the system, and we will always send you out a list of all the questions and answers, either from myself or from Katie, or from both, and that will be included with a recording of today's webinar as well as, so don't worry, you won't miss out, and we definitely won't miss any of your questions, but do feel free to ask them as we move forward. So today's webinar is about why become an inventory clerk. And today's session is going to be why become an inventory clerk. We're going to look at how to use InventoryBase, how to compile a report. Oh, excuse me, I've lost my screen here a second. Right, how to compile a report and what to include, the challenges and opportunities in the current inventory landscape, because it's changing in some respects almost daily, how InventoryBase and Vuber can support and guide you as inventory clerks working for Vuber, and also moving forward in regards to your next steps, what you need to do. So why become an inventory clerk? So for me, the benefits of the role include flexible working. It means you don't need to keep to that 9 to 5 kind of role, kind of timing. It can actually chop and change depending on what you need, whether you've got family commitments, other commitments, etc. And I'm all right in saying, Katie, that as Vubers, that your Vubers are very much open in regards to the timing, when they work, when they need to work, when they don't work, etc.
Yes, our Vubers have calendars on their dashboard. They can block out any times that they're not available. and we will obviously use that when booking them for any of our inventories or inspections.
Lovely. So again, they can set their own schedules and basically fit around their own commitments, etc.
Absolutely, yeah. The whole of the Viewer experience is about that, being freelance and, you know, dipping in and out when it suits them.
Great. I mean, that's certainly how my clerks currently work. For all of you attending today's webinar, I've got 8 clerks. They're all self-employed. So effectively the same kind of system as what Vuber will be working with you along those kind of lines in regards to they tell me when they can work, when they're available, and then obviously I can give them work. And if I give them work and maybe they're not available, they've got the option to decline. So they've got the ability to set their own schedules. It's flexible for them, flexible for me. And it means then their earning potential is very much in their own hands, so that you know, certainly during the summer periods we get very, very busy. So they've got potential there to earn a lot more maybe than they would do in the months around that time. But it really is set by them. So they can really say, well, you know, I can work 5 days a week. I want to work just a couple of days, or just want to work mornings or afternoons, or we've got some that just work the Friday, Saturday and Sunday because it fits around their own commitments. Yeah. So there's a lot of benefits to become an inventory clerk. I mean, from your point, Katie, what do you see the benefits as being?
Well, the benefits are pretty much the same. That, you know, they can not only can they set their calendars and block out times that they're available or not available, but they can also do inventory work away from Vuber. So they've invested the money to do the training, and then on top of that, you know, they can go and work for themselves, or they can go out to other agents, or indeed do some work for you. You know, there's all sorts that they can do. So it doesn't just tie them. We appreciate that they've invested some time and money on this, and it doesn't just tie them to us. From our point of view, the inventory service is new. We have thousands of clients who have expressed an interest in it. And we're working closely with current and new clients to develop the service. What we can't do is predict the volumes or provide any guarantees of work in any particular area. The same with all of our work. A lot of our agents are onliners or auctioneers, or there's, you know, all different types of companies, investors that we use, and they have no geographic focus. So it's really important that we get plenty of Vubers on board, feeling ready and comfortable with using InventoryBase, understanding the importance of the inventory, hence this webinar.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I mean, one of the graphics I've got here, I hope everyone can see, is that, you know, to the end of 2021, or by the end of 2021, they're expecting that rentable housing is going to be in about the 5.7 million. And I put out a manifesto for InventoryBase Academy the other day, and certainly the figures I had was around about the same, i.e. 5 million rentable households plus another 4 million in the social sector. Now, I've got experience in the social sector where we're actually finding more social housing people going into the market to rent arena. So they're actually building houses to rent to professionals, to working people, rather than maybe looking at the social care aspect. And we're seeing that build and build and build. I mean, certainly our client has over 38,000 properties in the south that they run, and with that they take deposits, and with that they then complete inventory reports, which is one of the services we provide to them. So there's real big scope, not just to look at inventories, your normal standard, i.e. to a landlord or to an agent, but you've got the tenant themselves. We're finding more and more tenants coming to us to ask us to do inventories, and also then you've got the social housing sector as well. And if you look in your area, and certainly in ours, we're seeing more and more of these companies come up and start developing, because they're getting a lot of government grants as well. So it's very busy industry, and it's getting bigger and bigger by the day. So certainly in regards to opportunities, there's a vast amount of opportunities coming up, but one of the things the sector is very struggling with is the fact that they don't have enough clerks. They don't have enough qualified, competent, professional clerks. So there's a real opportunity here to build and develop a really good industry, certainly within Vuber, and also if the clerks want to do that, you know, do it on their own and go towards landlords and agents and these kind of companies, there's certainly scope and work out there for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we can't stress enough the importance of a good inventory, and this is why it's really important that everybody submits their sample reports and we can see that they're following the process. I've given you guidance notes, and then this part is like the final part where you can really get to ask the questions and understand what it is you're meant to be doing, so that we can feel comfortable in launching it to our very important clients.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm like that with my clerks. I take my clerks out, we shadow, we train, etc. And then it's once they're comfortable and I know that they feel able to complete the reports to the standard that we need, that they would like to produce, then they're going out there and doing the reports on their own. But it does take a little bit of time to get to that point and make sure you're doing it properly, because how those reports are seen and taken, it very much reflects on you as a person and also Vuber as a service. We've got to make sure that's all right. So it is right. And Vicky's asked, is Vuber already asking people to do the inventories? So
okay, so the answer to that is that we do have a couple of people that are up and running. We also have people that aren't ready. They haven't submitted their samples, or if they have, we've not been happy with quite where they are. We just need to get everybody consistent, because it's really important that, you know, we could have a client that has a property in Brighton and another property in Kent and another one up north, and we need to be sure that they get a consistent approach across the whole market. So it's really important that everybody gets on board and submits their samples so that we're ready.
Great, no, that's really useful. That's quite right. Okay, so how to actually use InventoryBase. So a lot of people, certainly I've spoken to, Katie, have asked me about how to log into InventoryBase. So you can see on your screen here, we've got a login to InventoryBase, and what you do is you type in your browser, so in the toolbar at the top where you would normally put your search for anything, you know, clothes, Amazon gadgets, etc., etc. So you put in my.inventorybase.com into your browser bar, and we definitely suggest you bookmark this for coming back to the future, just so that it's quick and easy, so you don't have to keep putting it in. And then you type your email address and password that has been sent to you by Vuber, and then hit the enter, and then you'll get to the login screen. Now, as you can see on here, sorry, went too quick. There is a video tutorial here. I'm just going to quickly click on that, just and if someone can let me know that they can see this. So you should be seeing my screen, and we should go into another screen, and you should be seeing a vimeo.com. If maybe one of you could just let me know that you can see that. Brilliant. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Vicky. So when we send out the recording of this webinar, you'll get all these links, so don't worry about it, but I just wanted to show you it. So I'm just going to click on the start button, and this is showing you exactly what I was just mentioning. So in the browser bar, you're typing in my.inventorybase.com, and there comes up your signing panel, and then you put your email address in, put your password in, and then you click login, and then that will take you into your account. It's as simple as that. Okay, so I'm just going to close that down. Okay, so that's how to log in. It's literally as simple as that. And once you've done it a couple of times, it's automatic, so you shouldn't have any more problems with that. But I said the tutorial is on the slides, and you will get a copy of those. And then in order to log into your app and download the app itself for InventoryBase is downloadable either from the App Store or the the Apple Store and or the Android's Google Play Store. You'll see the links on here, on these pages here and here. And again, once you open up the app, you can log in with the same email address and password you used to log online. So you're not looking for anything separate, anything different. So I'm just going to click on that, and hopefully that will work again. Okay. So I'm just going to start that one. And as you can see, there's the app, and this works on Google or Android or Apple. Exactly the same address, exactly the same password, and then you are in. Okay, so it's as simple as that. In order to effect your inspections, all the inspections that you have listed that you've accepted, so you have to accept your report before you can download it. You literally click on the fetch, and then it will automatically download to your Apple device, and then you click on the report and carry on from there. It's really as simple as that. So I've just got a question here. Does the app cost us anything? Katie, one for you?
No, the app doesn't cost you. You pay, well, you will have all by now have paid for the training, and that means that you will have an account with InventoryBase through us, so you're added to the Vuber account.
Great, lovely. So I hope that answers your question, Vicky. If you are going to be working outside of the Vuber account, so for argument's sake, you're doing some work as an inventory clerk for Vuber, but you've also been asked to do some inventory work for other customers, you would need your own account, but we can send you out details of how you do that, and that obviously does come with a cost, but whilst you're working with Vuber, it's all done within that account, so it's not anything else you have to pay separately for. Okay, so that's how to log onto the system and how to log on the app. Now, for those that have actually completed the inventory training online, you will see that the actual inventory training is very comprehensive, and we're also constantly updating it and adding to it. So the more information we come across, maybe legislation has changed or a better understanding or a better way of working has been developed, we always adapt and add that to that training. But you've paid for it once, you don't ever have to pay for it again. You can log in, you can go out and visit as many times as you want, when you want, in order to keep yourself up to date, refresh your memory. And if we do add any additional material to that training, we'll also send you out an email. So it's always worthwhile, because I did notice the other day when I was in the academy that some people have turned their email notifications off. That's fine, and that's totally your prerogative, but the issue with that is if we do have any changes and we communicate them and email them out to you, you might not necessarily get notified them, so maybe have a think about turning those on, but obviously that's entirely up to you. So in regards,
I can just interject on there. So also the Vuber manual, which is available via your dashboard, has all the guidance notes and everything relating to InventoryBase added to it. So I added that recently. So everything that you need, the crib sheets, the guidance notes, the videos, the Vimeos, you know, how to access InventoryBase is all available via the manual.
Brilliant, lovely. And how do they get hold of that from your system?
Okay, so they log on to their dashboard, the Vuber dashboard, which is where they accept all their appointments. Mm-hmm. And on the dashboard on the left hand side there's the menu, and at the bottom of there is the manual.
Lovely, okie dokie, that's great. So we're kind of like coming it from two angles in regards to support and training. So there's plenty of information there, and it's constantly being updated on both sides. So if there isn't anything there that you can't see but you need, you can either ask Katie or you can ask myself, depending if it's the actual doing the report, i.e. at the property, etc. In regards to actually compiling. If you've got any questions, I can answer that, but equally I'm sure Katie can as well. Is that correct, Katie?
Yeah, absolutely. The best way to contact me is community@vuber.co.uk.
Lovely. I've got that on the end slide as well for everybody, so don't worry about writing that down. We'll give you that at the end as well. So how to compile a report and what to include. This is one of the biggest questions I get when I'm training both my clerks or anybody else. And what I always say to people, the report is about showcasing the property. It's about capturing and showing what the condition is, including the level of cleanliness. This is vitally important when it comes to the end of a tenancy, when you're measuring against what the property looked like and how clean it was at the beginning to what it's like when the tenant hands it back. And your report has to be just as detailed at the beginning, i.e. the inventory, as it does at the checkout, because that's what the adjudicator might need to see when it comes to any deposit dispute. And your report should include all aspects of the rooms and areas, including the gardens and outside spaces. And again, from those that have already done and gone through the training, that includes everything that you can see, so starting from the door frame, the ceiling, the lighting, the walls, skirting, the windows, the curtains, blinds, the flooring, socket switches, etc. Anything that you can see, so can the tenant, so can the landlord, but the only person that won't be able to see it effectively is the adjudicator. So you've got to paint that picture. You've got to provide a report that the adjudicator can look at and go, I understand that, I get that, that makes sense. And you're giving them all the evidence to make an informed decision should they need to. Most tenancies, in my experience, don't go to adjudication. It's more of a rarity than it is the norm. However, what does happen is that when it comes to the adjudication, if the arbitrator doesn't have all the evidence, doesn't have that understanding, can't get that sense of what that property was like at the beginning and at the end of the tenancy, it's really difficult for them to apportion costs. And this could be in the tenant's favour. Equally, it can be in the landlord's favour. So without that level of detail, they're not going to be able to make that informed decision. So it's our job as inventory professionals. I prefer professionals rather than clerk, purely because I think clerk sometimes feels like what I was doing when I was 16, whereas now I look at it, we're professionals. We're good at what we do. We're trusted, and we've developed a very good understanding of our role, etc. And this is what we want to try and impart to people, that we're professional inventory report people as opposed to just clerks. But they're getting back to adjudicator, they're relying on us to produce this report to give them the information so they can make that decision. So you've got to look at everything in that property, and this includes like the outside spaces. So as you go in the property, the gardens around, the gardens to the side, to the rear, parking spaces, or any garages that maybe are on block, maybe that aren't there attached specifically to the property. So you've got to include all of that. So you're going to be asking a lot of questions, maybe either to the landlord, to the agent, to the tenant, but also from yourself as that inventory professional. What do I need? What can I give that adjudicator in order to make sure that they've got the best evidence from me as possible? You also need to include all the appliances. A lot of properties these days come with just cookers, extractor hoods and hobs. Some of them come with white goods like fridge freezers, washing machines, tumble dryers, under unit fridges, dishwashers, etc. So they should all be included. And these should also include the serial numbers and the makes and models, because quite a lot of the time what we find is when we come to checkout, these items have changed. So if we have the detail at the beginning, we've got something to compare for or compare to at the end, and then that way then we're assured that we've captured everything. And things, if they have changed, it begs the question, who changed them, was permission given, etc. So again, we've found sometimes where tenants have changed an item because maybe it's broken, and then we've noted it, but the landlord didn't necessarily know about it. 9 times out of 10 it's absolutely fine, but sometimes it's not, because it could be a lesser model. The landlord could be at a detriment to whatever it is that the tenants replaced it with. But equally, we find sometimes that the item isn't there, and then it begs the question, well, where's it gone? Who took it? Was permission given? And similarly, if the item wasn't there, i.e. the landlord hasn't provided a fridge freezer, but all of a sudden there's one there, again, same kind of questions. But without that detail at the beginning of the inventory, you're not going to know whether a change or a difference has happened. Does that make sense, Katie?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important to note here. I mean, I've worked in the industry for a long time, like Sián, and the things that cause dispute. Are you covering that off, or should we just talk about that now?
No, we can talk about that. I mean, we've got loads of information within the academy training, but no, please do.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the disputes that agents and landlords are dealing with when it comes to claiming back a deposit at the end is through cleanliness and gardens Gardens are an area that cause a lot of issues. What's seasonal? What you know? How do you describe a garden? You have to think about the seasons and the time of year that somebody's moving out. So it's really important to capture all of this information to prevent the disputes further down the line.
Exactly. And sometimes we also find that landlords don't want you to capture that information at the beginning. They just, well, that's fine. It is what it is. It's painted, it's decorated, it looks okay, and that's as far as they want to go. But when it comes to the checkout side of things, it goes the opposite way. They want every speck of dust noticed and noted. And what we quite rightly say to the landlords and to the agents, you have to have the detail at the beginning to be able to compile a comparative report that can be relied upon at the end, i.e. the checkout. And the other thing you've got to bear in mind as well is we've got more and more insurance products coming onto the market in replacement of a deposit. So tenant, instead of paying, say, £1,000 deposit, they'll take out an insurance product, like a document, a bit like a car policy. And then anything that then changes at the end of that, then the landlord or agent could potentially claim on that deposit. But if they do that, so that insurance document, but if they do that, then there's a dispute, that's likely more now than ever to go to court. So what you've got to be thinking of as an inventory professional is, will your report stand up in a court of law? And the only way that it can do that is if you've got the evidence and it's factual and it's not biased, i.e. it states what it is, where it is, and to what extent it exists, as opposed to you just maybe, for argument's sake, write down, well, that's a fridge freezer and it's white, and that's it. That's not enough. You need to be saying the model, the type, the serial number. Is it clean? Is it damaged? And the same again at checkout. And then that way, then the insurance company has got a report they can rely on. A judge has got a report that they can use as evidence and be able to refer to it. So it's, you know, you've always got to be thinking not about the agent, not about the tenant, not about the landlord. You've got to be thinking about the adjudicator, because if you think about them and what they need, everybody else underneath that would be naturally covered, because you are hitting all the evidence requirements that that person will need, and that's the person that ultimately will make a decision as to whether the deposit gets returned to the tenant or the deposit gets given to the landlord, if they have enough evidence to state they're entitled to it. So it's really, really important. James asked, how do you address communal areas in the report? That's always a very interesting point, James, because there's some argument as to whether communal areas should be included in the report or not. My view is include it, but obviously you can't necessarily comment in any great detail, purely because you've got that hasn't got any control in regards to the tenant. The tenant has control of the property and the boundaries within the property, but communal areas is much more difficult. But what we do is we include them in as much as we give an overall picture of the communal areas. We briefly describe what the communal areas are, but we make sure that they're marked up as communal areas. So therefore, the likelihood the tenant themselves having any kind of sway over how that communal area is looked after, etc., it is probably relatively low. But what you're doing is you're saying, well, if the communal area isn't particularly in good condition anyway, or it's being used to store loads of bikes, it's a health hazard, this, that and the other, then you need to be including it, because at the end of the day, it's the access to the property. So anything that creates a potential health and safety or fire hazard, accessing the property will equally create that exiting the property should there be any kind of emergency. So I always include it. So even if it's just a case of a couple of pictures and a general description, and state what it's used for, i.e. is it a communal area to get into the flat door, or communal area for the main building that, you know, maybe is flats or a HMO. We tend to include that, but sometimes you'll find with landlords and agents they don't want to, so you need to have that conversation as well when it comes to booking. Is that something you do, Katie? Would you have that conversation when you're taking that booking?
So our booking system will allow them to put all the notes about this particular booking. So it could say this is a block of flats. Please make notes of the communal area when doing the inventory. It might say it's fully furnished, it's unfurnished. It will give all the instructions, and if in doubt, then come back to us and ask the question.
Yeah, and something I also say is, if for argument's sake you're not sure, take a picture
Yeah.
or take a few pictures, because if you don't need them, you can delete them. That's easy. It's the opposite way that's the more difficult bit, i.e. that you find out you did need them, you didn't take a picture, and then you could potentially be asked to return, which then realistically isn't a cost-effective use of your time, but it's something that obviously the client would want. So we always try and prompt the client initially, do you want this or not? But if they're not sure, or if you don't have that instruction, take some pictures. If you don't need them, then you can delete them, and then that's fine. But at least you've got them should you need to
I
do
think that's
additional
really
information.
good advice. I think at the moment we're doing property investor reports and photographs as viewers, and
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff that comes back from our clients, and bearing in mind, you could be working for one client one day and another client another day. The things that come back are, did you take a photo of this? Did you take a photo of that? When they've only asked for 12 photos at the start.
Yeah.
And so it's really great when we can then contact our viewers and say, look, you did exactly what the client asked, but they're now asking if you took one of the meter. And some of our viewers are fantastic and say, well, yeah, I've got it because I kept them all. So that's really useful to know as well. But what we don't want is for you to add so many photos to a report that it becomes an issue. We've given our guidance in the guidance notes and the manual as to what we expect. But certainly keep hold of them so that we can come back to them if necessary.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the more experienced you become as an inventory professional, as a viewer, the more you'll understand what you'll need, what you don't need, etc. And at the end of the day, if you're not sure, take a picture, because then that's easy. Anything that you think, oh, would I, or do I need to, or I've had to do it somewhere else before, and should they have asked me to do it? Take the picture, and then you can just say, to viewer, I've got that if you need it, or include it, or just keep it, like I said, to one side. And then after a week or so, I tend to then just delete all those pictures, because I would imagine by that point they would need it. And if the client has said, well, actually now I need that, well, then to me, certainly from my point of view, and Katie, it'd be good to hear what your view is that if that's the case, then they need to recommission us to go back and pay the appropriate fee with that, because at the end of the day, they should be giving us the right instructions, and we can only do so much. Otherwise, you'd be completing a full a detailed report each and every time, regardless of whether it was needed or not, because the fact is you don't know, and you can't do that. That's not a good use of your time.
Absolutely. I think, this is why we're providing guidance notes. This is why we're wanting a consistent approach across the whole of the UK. So every one of you can produce the same type of inventory report. Obviously, the content within the property is different, but we need to have that consistent approach. And it's really vital that you follow those guidance notes so that we can feel comfortable. And then if customers want anything extra, we can charge them extra and make sure that they know what they're getting. We're using the sample inventory reports that we've prepared, not that you've prepared, along with our guidance notes to launch this across the whole of our network of clients. So this is why, it may seem annoying that we're asking you to keep on getting it right, but once you've done that, we know that we can feel comfortable.
Oh, yeah, and certainly from my point of view, in regards to my own clerks and my own business, is once you've got that standard firmly in your head, it's a bit like driving a car. It becomes automatic. Therefore, you don't necessarily have to be thinking about it, because you already know, you're already questioning, what do I need? Where have I been? What do I have left to do, etc. And then that's helped speed up the process. You don't ever want to be so quick that you're losing the detail and the professional report. You want to make sure that's always firmly your first and foremost focus. But what it does mean is that you can complete reports in a much quicker time, still just as efficient, still just as detailed and robust, which they must be, but it will take you less time, because you know what you need, you know what you're looking at, you know which way you're going, you've got that methodology. And that's something certainly within the InventoryBase Academy training is what we're trying to help you develop, is so that you've got that knowledge. So as soon as you're going to house, you're thinking to yourself, I know what I need, I know where to go, I know how to set my template up, etc., etc. And by doing that, then you said you cut down your time that you're spending on that report, but you're still producing the best quality report for that client, and then that's a real good benefit to yourself as a viewer, but also to the client as well, because you're in there doing the report, but not spending hours upon hours, but the client's still getting a very good, very professional report as the end product as well. Right, so we talked about outside spaces, all appliances, then you've got your fixed or you've got your movable furniture. So your fixed ones could be cupboards, it could be shelving, etc., and your movable furniture, your sofas, your chairs. All of them need equal attention as you've paid to the door, to the frame, to the walls, etc. Because they are also movable, they can be a bit of a pain in regards to tenants moving around the property and then not putting them back where they should be. So if you've got detailed pictures, you've got detailed descriptions, then you'll be able to work out exactly where they are and comment on them accordingly. So treat them exactly as you would any other aspect of the property. And this includes things like accessories like crockery and glasses. Now, sometimes you'll come across properties that are so heavily furnished, you could literally be there forever and a day, literally. And we do have some clients who want every teaspoon counted or accounted for. This is very much down to the booking process, making sure that the client is aware of what it is they're asking you to do, and also you as the service through Katie, through Viewer, as to what you're prepared to do. So I presume you have guidance for that side of things, Katie?
We do, and we're finding that most of our clients are interested in tend to be unfurnished, but there will be some furnished that come along. And as soon as somebody books furnished, we then go back to them and inquire the level of furnishing in order to be able to price it up.
Yeah, because sometimes we'll find reports that say, well, it's furnished and it'll have a couple of bits of furniture and nothing else. Other times they say it's furnished and it's to the point where you could literally just take your overnight bag, walk in, and everything is there for you as you would do in your own home. So obviously that will take a lot longer, a lot more detailed, bigger report, and will cost more. So yeah, it's about understanding, well, how detailed it is. If you're talking things like HMOs and student accommodation, you can always 9 times out of 10 fully expect to have it quite heavily furnished, purely because they furnish their properties so that the student can literally go in, live there, do their university or whatever course they're on, and then go again, and they don't have to bring anything with them. So, but other properties don't always aren't always as clear as that. So it's definitely about asking that question. One of the questions just got through is Catherine. She's asked, do you always need to dictate the inventory report, or can you write the report up as you go along? Well, Katie, what is your preference? Because these are your viewers.
Okay, so for us, what we need is a good inventory at the end of the day. So how you choose to do that works best for you. I'm sure that Sián has her own ideas on the use of the InventoryBase app and how that will help you to get it right. It's efficient. It may take a bit of getting used to. It's not something you're used to doing, but once you've done that, I come from the day that I used to go out and dictate inventories, come back, spend 2 hours typing them up, forgotten to do the shed, had to go back to do something else. When you're there at the property, you can really get and capture a good inventory. So I think that's the whole point of the InventoryBase app. However, you'll get your own method of getting, so long as you can produce a good inventory within our guidelines, that's what we need.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm exactly the same mind as well. I mean, one of the reasons that I start, because I use the app as well as I work with IB, but I also use the app, and I started using the app first before I started working with IB, and I like it because it suits all my different clerks' skill sets. So I've got some clerks that dictate, I've got some clerks that like to make notes and take the pictures and then do the write-up at home. I've got some that use the dictionary that's inbuilt into the app. They find it absolutely invaluable, and they complete the whole report at the property at that time. And the thing with the system is it allows me to work with people with different skill sets, because beforehand we were working with apps that were very kind of set and didn't allow that flexibility, and that was difficult because not everybody feels comfortable with maybe spending all that time at the property or could dictate easily. And certainly from my own point of view, I started out using the app and using all the dictionary options in there. So as I start to type, it comes up with different options as to what it is they think the system thinks you're trying to ask it about, like, you know, things like a door, you know, white tube PVC, double glazed, etc. It will start recognizing what it is that you want. And what I then found was, because I had all that terminology in my head and I'm looking at things, I'm going, yeah, I know what it is that you are and what I need to say about you. I taught myself to dictate, and now I can dictate really, really quickly. As most people know me, I can really talk, but dictating it and talking are different things, because you're giving over detail and you're doing it in a set method and so on and so forth. So it takes a little bit of time, but I now dictate full time, because that for me is the easiest way possible. I can get into a property, get all the pictures I want. So I'll go around the room, take my 2 pictures of the room. I will then dictate the room, and then I'll take all the pictures of the items and the issues that I want. And sometimes this will actually prompt me, whereas as I've been walking around and I've doing dictation and I've maybe missed something, and because I'm going around a second time, albeit, you know, within a very short period of time, we're not talking hours, we're talking minutes, it means anything else that I've failed to pick up at the first time, I then pick up the second time. And that to me is a real good proven method. It works well. I know that once I've done that room or that area, I'm finished, I can move on to the next one. So it's about finding what's best for you. But the good thing about the app is it will allow you to do how it is that you feel most comfortable to complete that report. And the main thing that I always say to my clerks is exactly the same what Katie said about yourselves as viewers, is that as long as the output, i.e. the report, is of the quality and the standard that we need, and it reflects you as the professional, how you then get there is entirely up to you. And it's just about you finding what's the best fit for you. So that's what you need to be looking at in regards to what you're looking at in regards to a report. And a report should always, again, said in the InventoryBase Academy training, it should be clear so that anybody can pick up your report and go, yes, I get that. I understand that. That makes really good sense. And you're giving that mind's eye, a bit like when you're reading a book. You know, as you're reading it, you get in your mind's eye what the story is about, what it's telling you, what the information it's conveying, and that's what your report should be. So the wording should be clear. So we always say to our clerks, don't go along the lines of giving loads of words about things that maybe people wouldn't necessarily understand, or using acronyms, because that becomes quite difficult. You might not know what it means, but they might not. So keep your reports very clear, and so that anyone can pick that up. Make them concise as well, which I know in a way it sounds almost like counterintuitive to what I said about clear, but you don't necessarily have to write war and peace. You can keep things very concise, and certainly within the academy training, I've given you some examples where you've got a very, very long sentence, but you can actually condense it down and make it very concise, but still convey exactly the same amount of information, but in a smaller form and also quicker for you. So I find a lot of people will write and this and so that, and if you look to your left, up to the top and round to the right, you'll find such and such. Whereas if you say, as you enter, to the left, there it is. So there's ways of doing it. So keep it nice, concise. And comprehensive means that you're giving the detail, you're saying what is there. So don't cut corners in regards to, you know, maybe you're seeing some marks on a wall and you think, well, actually they're okay. Well, they may be okay to you, but they might not be okay to the landlord, might not be okay to the adjudicator, and it doesn't reflect what the property looks like. So you need to include that detail. You need to be comprehensive about what it is you're saying, because the other thing that you will find when it comes to checkout, if you've got that level of detail at the beginning, it's much easier for you as the inventory professional to see the difference between the original report and where you are now. Whereas without that detail, you just wouldn't get that. I
think also, sorry to interrupt.
No, please do. Sorry.
That's okay. We need to be really careful that it's not opinion and that it is factual, because some that I've seen, we've had some great examples, but some I've seen have given an opinion, landlord needs to redecorate, or, you know, this needs doing, and we have to be really careful. That's not what we're there to do. We're there to capture what we can see, say what you see, not what you think.
Absolutely. And a really good example of that I always use is, say for argument's sake, you're going to court, you've got an insurance backed product, you've done a report, and then that's gone to court because there's an issue, and the judge is looking at your report, and you said something about the fact that certain things need cleaning, and or they need repainting, or they've not been done to a good standard. And you're saying, and then the judge will quite rightly say, well, okay, so you say it needs cleaning and it's not done to a really good standard, and there's issues there. It's okay, so what experience have you got? What qualifications have you got? And if you don't have that, then you can only say, well, actually, no, well, that's my opinion. And so, well, that's not fact then. So you need to stick to fact. So if there's a mark, show the mark, so say where it is, to what extent it exists. If things are not clean, they're grubby. We use the word grubby because we always find the word dirty very emotive. People think as soon as you say dirty, you're talking about them in response to their personal hygiene, and you're not. So we always say grubby. So if it's grubby, then show a picture to show it's grubby. So you can say it's grubby, which is effectively subjective, i.e. your opinion, but as soon as you show a picture, you can showcase that it's grubby, then it becomes objective, it becomes fact. So you've got to think about that. So always think about where that report's going, who's going to be relying on it, and what kind of conversations and conditions will that report be used for in order to make a decision. So like Katie said, keep it fact-based. Is it there? Yes. Okay, to what extent it exists, describe it, show a picture of it. That way then you can never get it wrong.
I think also it's about thinking it through, because I've seen some examples where somebody's given a fantastic description of a light shade that's gone on and on. However, really important things like the toilet or the shower where there could be leaks or grouting missing or things like that haven't been documented. So it's about really thinking through what's important, and if you owned that property, what would become an issue.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one of the reasons, from my point of view, our reports, we have 2 overview pictures of every single room, and we do that for a couple of reasons. 1, to give context. 2, to say I'm in the right room, commenting on the right things, but also it's a very good visual aid and a quick overview to see the condition of that particular room before you then start going into the detail. And quite often, especially when it comes to checkout, when you've got an inventory where say the bedroom was really nice and clean and tidy, brand new, or been recently refurbished and everything, and then you go back and it's absolutely trash, having to climb over the rubbish on the floor, and this does happen. Because you've got those 2 pictures, you're given a complete understanding straight away, visual to the adjudicator. That's how it looked. This is how it looks now. And then there's not a lot of room for argument. So it's something we do. I don't know if that's something that you're adopting, Katie.
Yes, absolutely. Another thing that I'm thinking about at the moment as we're talking is about photos. I've seen somewhere people are taking photos, and of course they're being captured in the mirror, the angles that they use. Yes. So I think when taking those photographs, it's really important that you look at that photo and think, is this going to work? We don't want pictures of people reflecting in the mirror, stand at a different angle. Is it capturing the whole of the room? I think sometimes you can't, I know that, smaller rooms, but think things through like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then once you're doing that a few times, then it becomes automatic. I can go into a room and I know exactly which shot I want and how I need to get to it, and it's done. And then that will shave off a lot of your time in the property. And yeah, being aware of mirrors, you might have to crack down a little bit, especially when you get to those ones where you've got those mirrored cabinets in bathrooms. It doesn't matter which way you go, you're in there, you're reflected. So sometimes you have to crack down a little bit. But obviously, be careful of your knees, and make sure you do it safe and keep your health and safety in mind. But yeah, it's about knowing that, and the more times you do it, the easier it becomes, and then it becomes automatic, and then you're not thinking about it. One question that Vicky's asked is, how long will Vuba give us to prepare, report and submit?
Okay, every single job has its own deadline, and we would question it if it was not possible. So if somebody sent one through at 9 o'clock in the morning and wanted it by 11, we, as Vubers, we say our service to our customers is that we will try and turn it around, within 24 hours. but they could book it a week ahead, and then the deadline is that day, but you need to go in on a certain time. It really does depend. Every single job has to be treated individually, but we will sense check it when it comes in. And if it doesn't fit with the criteria, or if we book it with you and it doesn't quite fit, and there's a little bit of flexibility, we'll work together.
Right, okie dokie. Yeah, I mean, so from our point of view, our SLA, for want of a better phrase, our service level agreement with our clients is a turnaround from 9 o'clock next morning, but everybody is different. And again, we're like you, if there's a particular, it's a very big property, very complicated, overly furnished, etc., then we always say to the client, look, you know, it's going to take us a lot longer, but you would, you know, that's 9 times out of 10, they're absolutely fine with that, because obviously it's about the report. It's making sure we don't rush, we get it right, we're giving over the information, we're giving that quality report over.
I think it's really important to think about it from the client's perspective as well.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to the clients, they will know that they've got a tenant due to move in. They've probably had a tenant move out, and the landlord will want to make sure there's less of a void period. So they'll maybe have a couple of days in between. So there's a real tight schedule on when somebody can go in and take that inventory and when the new tenant wants to move in. And obviously, landlords are always wanting to make sure that the rent's coming in, and clients are also wanting to make sure that they're getting their pay between. So there's often a tight schedule, and often they can't book an inventory until they've referenced the new tenant ready to move in. And once they've got that, so some of our big clients, they will not book the inventory until they know that the tenant's ready.
Yeah.
And so often they are quite a tight deadline, but we will work with that and make sure that, you know, we will send it out to you. If you can't do it, then we'll send it to somebody else. If we can't find somebody, then we'll give them the, you know, what you come back to say. If you say, well, I can't do it Thursday, but I can do it Friday, we'll work with each other to make sure that we get these fulfilled.
And to be fair, clients are normally pretty good, and as long as they know that that you're trying to be helpful, etc., they can be flexible. And I certainly have that with my clients. You know, sometimes they need flexibility from me, and I need it from them. And I think as long as it's reciprocal, then it works really, really well. Yeah. I'm very conscious of the time. The slide about InventoryBase Academy is just to give you the InventoryBase Academy web address for those who haven't completed the training course. Hopefully the ones that have will be a testament to say, you know, it is very useful, it's very comprehensive, it's born out of years of understanding, hands-on practice. We're constantly updating it. We've also got blogs that we put on there, and we've got some free courses in regards to fitness for human habitation, Legionella risk assessment, GDPR, which is very, very important whether you're working as a viewer or as a clerk on your own. And also we've got a closed Facebook group for people who are on InventoryBase in order to give additional advice, help, guidance, support, answer those burning questions, etc. So it's all there for you to help you do your job well, and just act as a support mechanism over and above what you would also get from Viewer, because I'm presuming you've got a similar kind of setup as well, Katie.
Yes, we have. We've got a community Facebook group, and you're all encouraged to join that. And you know, we put hints and tips and messages on there. So you know, give me a shout if there's anything you need. My details are at the end of the slides. I think one thing we do need to quickly say is that we're talking a lot about inventories here, but there are also inspections. So periodic inspections that we would ask you to do. And we often find that our clients want to start with the inspections, and then we'll build up to do inventories once they can see that we can service their needs. So, you know, please read all the guidance notes in the manual about inspections as well. They're a lot quicker. It's a lot quicker than an inventory. This is more like a cursory glance around the property to make sure that you're happy with everything. And I've sent all of you templates to do samples for inventories and inspections. Very different guidance notes.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly from just doing the sample ones, certainly from my own point of view, when I'm training clerks, do it as much as you can, you know, practice as much as you can, because the more comfortable you come with the app and the system and navigating and putting into practice what you've learned on the academy, etc., it will make it a lot easier, especially when you get to that first property, because that first property is always a bit difficult to get under your belt. But once you've done that, everything else becomes so much easier. So definitely practice. And again, if you've got questions, you can go on the community forum at Viewber, you can come onto the community forum on our Facebook forum, or you can call me, etc. Because again, we're all practicing. We're doing it in every single day. So there's not much, I don't think, that we won't have come across already that we can't help and advise you on. So always do please ask. And certainly in regards to looking at where the inventory landscape is currently, there is loads of opportunities. As I was saying earlier on, we're looking at a market going towards renting in the long term rather than owning. So at the moment we're looking at over 9 million households, and they think those numbers are going to go up and up and up. They will require inventory reports, they will require inspections and other related property reports. So there's loads of opportunities, and the challenges from our point of view is getting those standards right, getting it so that we're providing comprehensive reports, we're providing reports that the clients feel comfortable, that they can rely on, that will back them, will support them. And that's clients across the board, landlords, agents and tenants. For me, one thing I always say to all of my clients, and sometimes they look at me a little bit funny, and I say, I don't really care about you, I care about the property. If I get the property right and everybody else is supported and looked after, whereas if I don't, then you won't be. So I'm not looking to make my property fit to the tenant, to the landlord, to the agent. I'm looking for it to fit to the adjudicator, because that is the person that ultimately will need that comprehensive, that professional report. So if you aim it to that person and you get your standards to that level, then everybody else is covered. And that to me has stood me, certainly for me, myself, my clerks and my business in very, very good stead. And it's one of the reasons why I'm working with IB, because I have those standards, but they're not difficult standards to obtain and to adhere to and to keep on top of, but it's just getting yourself to that point. So certainly keep yourself training, looking at things, looking at the wider industry, which is why certainly from a support and guidance point of view, you've got Katie and Viewber, you've got us as InventoryBase Academy, not just from the support of the actual app itself, but also how we do inventories on the Academy side. And from your point of view, Katie, just everything basically what we've just said, again, from the community side, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, please try and join both Facebook pages. So the Viewber one is Viewber Community Viewing Agents, and the InventoryBase one, I'll leave Sián to give you that at the end. And here you'll see hints and tips and progression on how we're doing with our clients, and things that will help you.
Yeah, absolutely. And as is the InventoryBase Academy support hub on Facebook, it said it's closed, and the reason we've made it closed is so that everybody on there feels comfortable and supported, and the fact that no question is a daft question. Everybody can ask whatever it is that they need, because sometimes it's a burning question, and once you know, and it just makes life a lot easier. And we're all also putting on there things we're coming up on a regular basis, either within our reports or whether there's stuff in the industry that's coming out or we're aware of. So we're constantly updating, adding to it, etc. So it's always worthwhile having both of those in your pocket that you can go to and hopefully give you all the support and guidance that you need to do your role. So moving forward, so the next steps, certainly from our point of view with InventoryBase Academy, is that you've got the training which is available to you if you haven't already availed yourself of it. You've also got the ability to go in and out whenever you need it. You've got the blogs, you've got the Facebook group, we've got work streams coming online. So for those that want to have their own accounts and also work not just with Viewber but maybe in the wider industry with agents and clerks, we've got work streams where you'll be able to access clients across the UK in order to get additional work. So that's available. From your point of view, Katie, what else have you got coming up?
Okay, so if we just want everybody to submit their samples, anybody that hasn't, please do, and then we'll be ready. We just need to make sure that everybody feels comfortable. Ask us questions if you're not sure. Look at the notes, look at the training, and just make sure that you're feeling comfortable and ready to go.
Great, lovely. And like I said, from our point of view, so from InventoryBase itself, in regards to the support on the system, we've got a very good support staff. We've got very good tech staff, so we're constantly working on the app, on the system, trying to improve it all the time. So if you've got suggestions, put them forward. That's one of the reasons why I started working with IB, because I think I was constantly saying, well, you know, this would work better this way, and so on and so forth, because we're out there, we're using it all the time. And it's great for them to get that feedback, to understand how the app's working, how it could be improved, what it would make your life as that inventory professional better and easier, so you can do all the stuff and all the reports that you need to the best standard that you possibly can, but with all the right tools, and not being literally spent there all day and every day doing it. So there's loads and loads of opportunities there to get involved, to give you feedback, and also to be supported both by ViewBat and ourselves as InventoryBase and InventoryBase Academy. And lastly, for me, going forward, I think that inventory services are going to become regulated. I think they're going to be minimum standards that are going to be applied and enforced, and with a code of practice, and there's going to be a need for insurance and audit requirements. So at the moment, they are not. They're there in some forms, but it's about us providing that standard and us giving that comprehensive report over to the client. But I can see that coming, becoming more and more of an issue as we go forward, especially now that the government is looking at regulating the letting agents and the estate agents, and making them adhere to codes, making them regulated, making them what do you call it? I've got my words now. Making them qualified to do what they do. It's one of the reasons why we made our course a CPD accredited course, because CPD is now what is being used as the main indicator of how you as a professional are, you know, training yourself, keeping your knowledge up to date, etc. And that's what the government is looking for under the new ROPA recommendations. And I think at some point we will be included in those. So for us, it makes sense to be CPD accredited. And one of the things we're also doing, come January, we're launching 2 training days on the 8th and the 15th of January, where we're going to be doing practical hands-on training here in Portsmouth. We're going to be doing it in a hotel setting, but hopefully we're going to be using a property as well. But if not, we've definitely got a hotel setting, and we're going to do it actual hands-on, so we can do a one-to-one with delegates and show them not only how to use the actual app itself, but also how to compile the report and to be there to answer those questions. So give you an opportunity to actually do some practical training, as well as obviously the theoretical training. So that's something that will be coming out. So it'll be available to everybody, and we'll be sending out details hopefully the next day or so. And if we've got them, then we'll probably send them out with the recording of this webinar. So that's kind of our forward steps. Katie, anything else from you?
No, I think we've covered off everything. If anybody's got any questions, please submit them to myself or Sián. Read up on all the documents, and let's get in a position where we're all ready to go.
Lovely. And again, if you've got any other questions, either you can put them onto your chat now, and we'll come back to them and send them out with a copy of the webinar recording. You've got contact details there. You've got mine, Sián at inventorybase.com, and you've got Katie at community@viewbert.co.uk. And I said, if you've got any other questions, or if you want advice, or if you just want a chat, give us a shout. We'll book you in, and we can take you through that, and then we'll send all the details out for the training days. But just remember, you can go back to your InventoryBase Academy training at any point once you've got your account, in and out whenever you need to, and said join both the Facebook groups for ViewBat and for Academy, so we can give you the best support possible and help you ease into the role, get you out there working, because it is an enjoyable job, and there's a load of work out there. So hopefully we'll get you up and running as quickly as we can.
Sián, thank you for everything you've done here. I'm hoping that this will, you know, iron out some of the regular things that viewers are asking, and make them feel confident and ready. So
lovely. Well, absolute pleasure, and something maybe we'd look to do again if everybody is in need, or we can look at maybe specific areas of inventory provision over and above what we've already got on the Academy. But no, it's been absolutely enjoyable. Thank you so much for everybody that's attended. Thank you for your questions. I can see a few more questions coming through. Still keep putting them on, and we'll make sure that we include them when we send out the recording of the webinar. So if there's nothing more that anybody needs, then we'll close for today. And thank you very much indeed for your time. We look forward to talking to you again soon. So, and thank you, Katie. It's been brilliant.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.